What is good, TFA fans? We are live on the TFA Dino Show. Tom rocking with me as always. But you guys will notice we are not just switching it up going live, but we have a couple of guests with us as well. We wanted to reach out to the 14 Personnel crew who have been rocking it, really doing a lot of good stuff that I've been keeping track of on their YouTube as well as their pod. And we've got Marco and Justin. Guys, we are pumped up to talk some crystal ball with you. How are you guys doing?
Good, man. It's exciting to be able to be on with you guys. I know we haven't been able to connect too much outside of a few chats, so this is cool to be able to finally jump on with you. Justin, I mean, you're always kind of upset about something, right?
Yeah, no, I'm pissed I'm here. No, this is great. This is going to be a ton of fun. I'm very much looking forward to this. We don't get to do a lot of Dynasty talk, especially like come August. So this is a nice switch up. I'm pumped.
Yeah,
that's exactly what we're doing. For those who don't know, Crystal Ball was kind of born from Cody and Tom. It's basically looking forward 1 year from today and looking at what these Dynasty ADPs are going to be in August of 2022. Because as we know, how do you set yourself up for success in Dynasty? You kind of project forward. Who's going to be rising? Who's going to be falling off? Who do you need to move? Because that's the beauty of Dynasty. You're always trading. You're always making moves. So, Tom, are you ready to get into this?
Oh yeah, I'm ready to get into this. Do we have a question of the week, Robby?
Oh, we always got a question of the week, and for this week we've got home league drafts, guys. It's draft season. We're getting pumped up to go home. At least I am for sure. To go home and basically just draft with all the buddies. I don't know if you guys do them live or maybe this year you're doing them, online. But I'm curious what you guys do for your live drafts because I feel like I've always heard crazy stories of what they have to do to the loser, and if you guys do stuff beforehand. So Marco, what are you guys doing for maybe your home league draft?
Yeah, so this year we're a little bit tamer, obviously, with all the COVID stuff. So we're just going to a bar that's like right down the street, and we have a room that we draft in. But we've got some high hopes for next season. We got a buddy who works with the Panthers, and we're hoping that we might be able to get like a suite in the stadium to draft next season. So fingers crossed on that.
Yeah, no, that sounds absolutely fantastic. Justin, what do you got?
So that league I used to be in, dropped out of it, but I got another home league, and it's all high school buddies. So it is just getting together. I mean, we're all 25 now, 25, 26. So it's been a minute since we've all been in the same city. We all come in together to spend a weekend. It's drinking, hanging out, just screwing with whoever sucked last year. I mean, it's the stereotypical fantasy football draft weekend.
Yeah. Tom, what about yourself?
As everyone knows, I'm an Eagles fan, unfortunately, right now. So every single year we go over to the Lincoln Financial Field, and we draft in a suite. So that is on the 24th. I play in a league with the head chef for the Eagles and the controller over at Lincoln Financial and some other guys. So just dropping some names and whatnot.
Yeah,
so
just
we,
casual.
We get some pretty good treatment over there. The food is pretty good. I'll say that. He brings up some special stuff for us. And yeah, we just draft and have a good time. And that's it, man.
Man, I think he tried to outshine you guys there. You guys are like, yeah, we do the normal, casual, just draft, get together, have some beers. And he's like, yeah, beers are cool. You draft in the stadium,
Wasn't trying. I just do.
He's like, you peasants.
It just comes natural.
Right. I'm sorry. I also sat next to Mike Trout a bunch of different times in the Tunnel Club. What now? I don't know.
All right.
Should we talk about the Super Bowl ring that I got?
We got to make sure your head still fits in that little square of yours by the end of this episode.
It's fine. It's getting bigger.
Yeah, I'm really excited. So I did one 2 weeks ago. We had to go earlier just because I'm in the age where everyone's like in weddings, right? Like we're all in somebody's wedding like every single week. And so it didn't work out to do it later in August. And so we had to go 2 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
And we all got together. Yeah, it's super early, right? It was right
intense.
after the Cam Akers, like not right after, but close after Cam Akers. Michael Thomas the news just broke. And so like everyone's just sitting on edge, like, oh gosh, like nobody because we did this 2 years ago, or was it 3? And Andrew Luck retires like mid draft. Like it's an auction. Somebody had just got it for like $8 in the auction, and then he retires. But yeah. So before we actually do that, we do some golf. The loser this year, your boy ended up winning, which was fantastic, and I got to choose the outfit for the loser. So he was dressed up in 80s workout gear on the golf course. And everybody loved it. It was awesome for us, but I feel like everybody else on the golf course loved it even more. So
that's amazing. We did have one year where the punishment was we sometimes we go golfing before we go draft, and one year the punishment was the guy who got last had to wear a horse jockey outfit and caddy for everybody, which was a riot.
Was it they got to pick their golf bag? So his golf bag was like a lacrosse stick, a hockey stick, a putter,
like a pool cue,
and there was like 4 clubs. That was it. It was
fantastic. It was amazing.
Yeah. So my home league, Dynasty league, when we first started it, there was my co-commissioner's name was Asa Moose, and he came in last, so he was the first toilet bowl, so we named it after him. So I went out and bought a moose suit, like an actual moose with antlers and shit like that. And then the loser would have to wear it out to bars the night of the NFL draft, and then our home league draft too.
That's fantastic.
So that was good. The moose suit.
I feel like that person has the perfect name for like naming something after, right? Like Ash and Moose.
Yeah.
Like,
we were all rooting for him to lose just so it would be like the Moose instead of like it's the Sheridan.
Right. It's the course.
Come on.
You had to capitalize on that.
Yeah, right?
Cool. Well, let's get into the meat, the goodness of this episode, and put on our Sears hat, get the crystal ball out, warm up the hands, see what we got coming, get the cloudy vision gone. I'm going to kick it to our guest first. Our first question is, what running back currently going, who's currently outside the top 12, do you see jumping in and being a running back 1 by this time next year? And Justin, I'm going to kick it over to you first for who you've picked to be that guy.
Yeah, so there's a few names that really come to mind, but to me, one sticks out, and it's J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins is someone I am very high on him, but even if he isn't a top 12 running back this year, I still think that ADP is going up with Gus Edwards potentially out the door. That is the key there. If he leaves in free agency or even doesn't see as big of a role as some people are projecting him to, Dobbins' ADP is just going to continue to rise. Again, we saw him last year. He's hyper efficient. He's hyper talented. The only question is really volume. So if you get rid of the one hurdle that is Gus Edwards, really, and he can see 200 plus carries, 250 even, he's going to be going top 10 at the running back position. Again, even if he doesn't perform this year to some expectations, he's going up in ADP. And right now, he's at RB 14. So he doesn't have a big jump to really make. I think I probably took the closest guy I could take to making that jump, but I feel good about Dobbins.
If it's Superflex, the Superflex mocks, he's actually going 12th. So he is right on that fringe. So you're cheating.
That's fair. Yeah. I got 3 more. I got 3 more queued up and ready to go if I need them.
I'm sure we'll pick some out. What do you got, Marco?
Yeah, so the guy I'm going with is Travis Etienne. I think when I look at what the Jaguars are doing, a lot of people are like, they're obviously excited about Lawrence. They're excited about, Chenault's getting a lot of hype. Even Marvin Jones is getting hype. And Travis Etienne is one of those guys who some people are really in on, and then some people are like, you know what? I'm not sure if he's going to be able to take any sort of real work this year from a guy like James Robinson. And so what I see in Travis Etienne is I don't think you have to worry about too much of the little bit of the downtick in hype that we saw from last season to this season, So like one of the things that he's been good at is catching the ball. And so of course they're saying, hey, let's use him as a pass catcher, but you're not going to spend a first round draft capital on a guy that you're only looking to throw the ball to out of the backfield. And as good as I think James Robinson is, I really genuinely think that Travis Etienne is one of those guys who is going to see an increase in his ADP no matter where he ends up this year. Like he's just one of those guys where he's tied to Trevor Lawrence. He's tied to an offense that a lot of people are excited about because of Trevor Lawrence. And really the one thing that I am concerned with one thing I'm concerned with Travis Etienne is maybe a little bit of his vision. I'm kind of concerned with the same thing with Jonathan Taylor, but at the same time, you see what Jonathan Taylor is able to do. And while Travis Etienne might not be as big of a workhorse power running back as Taylor is, I think Etienne can carry the load and just put him with this college quarterback who is a generational prospect at the position. I think we're going to see a jump in ADP. Like I said, no matter if he ends up outside of the top 24 running backs this season or not.
How dare you slander Jonathan Taylor, sir?
I knew that was coming. I knew it.
How dare you? I will actually go next because I also had Travis Etienne. I think it's a combination of his youth and pass catching ability, like you said, pretty much everything you just said. But we're going to have that narrative in the offseason of more volume as well. So I could use the same exact argument for Javante Williams. You're going to have another guy who's probably going to be getting less work in James Robinson and Melvin Gordon, as opposed to the rookies taking over. So that's where I'm going. I'm not going to waste my time. You said it pretty well.
No, that's a good one. And I'm kind of the same route where I'm going to go with the rookie and in Javante Williams, because if we look at Melvin Gordon as kind of the only guy standing in his way, more or less from just being, if he went to a backfield, if Melvin Gordon was out of the picture, I think we would be having Javante Williams a lot higher. I think he'd be kind of that Najee area, honestly. And so if we fast forward a year, I don't think they're going to have Melvin Gordon on the squad anymore. I think it's going to be a Javante Williams. Maybe Mike Boone is still there. Maybe they bring in somebody else, but I think it's going to be his backfield, right, where he's getting 65% of the work. I do like the offensive weapons around him. Obviously, there's the quarterback question, but you got to love, Sutton, Judy, Fant. They can't key on the running back. So, just with the contract situation with Gordon and him possibly leaving town, he feels like a guy that's just going to shoot up the ranks. And possibly be in the top 12, especially if he has this breakout second half of the season that we saw from all the guys you guys are mentioning, right? Dobbins, Jonathan Taylor, Antonio Gibson. We saw all these guys pop, halfway through the season and just take off. So I see these similar things in the cards in the crystal ball here for Javante Williams.
Yeah, I like the Javante call. Sorry, Justin. I like the Javante call. I was between him and Etienne coming into this, so I like that quite a bit.
Yeah, Javante, again, it's preseason. We all know to take it with a grain of salt, but he had juice. And you haven't seen Melvin Gordon at all this entire preseason. He's been banged up. Yep. If Javante comes out of the gates with the workload, even if it's, 55-45, if he's leading that split, his ADP is just going to continue to rise in startups, into the season and again into the offseason.
Yeah, he's one of the guys that I'm just targeting in those middle rounds anyways, because maybe I'm just kind of going off of last year where I need to remember farther years back where not every running back class is as great as last year, but it just feels like every single running back that we love in the first, second, third round, they all popped off, other than Keyshawn Vaughn, who got buried. He went the opposite direction, but it just feels like on him? Oh, Tom, we're not going there. We're not going there.
Oh, okay.
That much, huh?
Yeah, it was not good in an auction league. Robbie was excited, but we're gonna kind of dive deep. Maybe not quite as deep as Keyshawn Vaughn, but going to a little bit deeper dive. And I want you guys to pick a running back going outside the top 30 that you think will hit their way into running back 2 conversation, kind of be above a flex appeal. And Tom, I'll let you start off first.
Oh, really? You're letting me go first?
Yeah.
Jeez.
You weren't ready for that at all, were you?
Curveball.
No, I was not prepared to go first.
Okay.
However,
you good? I can go.
Yeah, no, this is just a gross question. I hate this question.
Yeah.
Really?
And I guess if I had to pick anybody, it would be Damien Harris. And he's RB 31 and 32, depending on Superflex or not. And I hate the fact that I'm taking a Patriots running back, but he looked good when he got the work last year. So he's limited as a pass catcher. James White's there. That's why he's ranked so low, but he's going to get the volume to probably be an RB2 until Belichick says screw off and he never gets a snap after week 5. So, yeah, Damien Harris, I guess.
I like this comment. Apparently, we're starting off pretty hot takey. This is apparently the crystal meth episode. We're a little bit out there. I feel like those first three were pretty normal.
How?
Like Etienne, I mean, a top rookie on a what should be an exciting offense with a new rookie quarterback. I don't know. I feel like that's a good take. And
I am confident in those three players.
Yeah,
in all three of them.
Yeah.
I think he spoke too soon because wait till we're done with our answers this round. Like this is where it gets interesting.
Yeah, I hate my.
I mean, if those three guys are crystal meth, I'm pretty sure that I have to try crystal meth. Jesus, it must not be that bad. Right? It's not going to ruin my life.
All I've taken from that is crystal meth is reasonable. That's all that's what I've picked up on.
Right. It's that blue stuff that Walter White has. It's it's just a
little.
There we go. Walter White.
Akash is with you.
Same exact time. But I mean, I don't underselling James Robinson. I think you're underselling Travis Etienne.
That's a good. Yeah, we can't even the James Robinson debate. I feel like Tom and I have been talking about since January. Honestly, like there's been the people in James Robinson camp, people not in James Robinson camp, and I don't think it'll be resolved until the end of the year. Honestly,
I did trade for James Robinson in a league after I lost Cam Akers and just needed to fill like the RB3, RB4 slot on a contending roster. A guy that I know is going to touch the ball. Yep. I don't expect a whole lot from him. But he's fairly cheap in Dynasty because rightfully so, people are starting to kind of cut bait. But if you're contending and looking like RB3, RB4, fine. That's really all I want him for. I don't want him for much more.
Right.
Yeah, I think he'll be in the RB2 flex consideration come the end of the season. So, yeah. And I will not actually try crystal meth. I'm sorry. My job says I cannot try crystal meth.
Your job, society, just general norm and health concerns.
I work in a prison. I'd rather not go to prison and be that's where I live now. So
just taking up shop, yeah.
Yeah. I just I'm not gonna rent a room. Sorry.
Right.
Hey, Tom, for mine, I was thinking about Damien Harris, but I just can't trust Patriots backfield. I mean, I'll be wrong on some of those, but I just can't dive back in. Sony Michel has hurt me too much. You know that. So I'm gonna stay true to my roots. Anybody who follows me knows
here we go.
Ronald Jones truther through and through, and I'm hoping with Justin's pre-show talk about Leonard Fournette, I'm hopeful he's on my side here. But I mean, we're talking about a guy that just turned 24 2 weeks ago. Like it probably seems like Ronald Jones is like 26, 27. No, one of the youngest backs in his class, as most of us remember, and he just has always been in the doghouse for some damn reason. And I think either he goes somewhere else this next year because he's in the last year of his deal, or I don't think they bring back Leonard Fournette and Gio and continue to run it back with all of those guys. I think one way or the other, he's going to be in a better situation where maybe he can take a little bit more of the workload because we've seen what he can do when he's given the workload. That's what's most frustrating for me is like he's one of the more polarizing players, right? And for a while I had to wear it because rookie year, did nothing. Sophomore year had a couple flashes, but wasn't fantastic. And then third year, he pops when he gets the workload. Anytime he got 15 plus carries, he was a fantasy star. So that's my guy, and he's going outside top 36 running backs. He's not old, still young, could be in a new situation or could have a better situation in Tampa if they decide to retain him. I just think there's a lot of positive things that could still go his way.
So, Justin, I know you're gonna go on your rant, and so I'm gonna let you do it because all I'll say is I agree. And a crazy thing, you said he just turned 24. He's just under a year older than Najee Harris. He's just under a year older. That's crazy.
That is.
I mean, I'm with you. I am 100% in on this pick. And the crazy thing is, if you go back to like last season for me, I was so unbelievably against Ronald Jones just because year one and year two were so chaotic and just kind of depressing. And then they brought in Leonard Fournette, and there was not a running back in the NFL that I just did not believe in more than Ronald Jones other than Leonard Fournette. So I was like, if this is his biggest hurdle for competition, I'll get back in on Ronald Jones. And what I saw last year was just so encouraging. Again, yards per carry, take it with a grain of salt. It is what it is. But he was over 5 yards a carry. Fournette's sitting there under 4. I don't care how good Fournette was in the playoffs. You have a 16-game sample of Ronald Jones being significantly more productive, more efficient, more effective. I do think he ends up remaining in Tampa even after this season, because Brady finds guys that he likes, and it seems like he trusts Ronald Jones as a runner and a guy in the red zone potentially. So if you can get another year or two of him with Brady, I mean, that's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah. And I'll always know I have J Mike in my corner as well, which is just a fantastic guy to have in your corner with him and my Ronald Jones. J Mike, we've worn it over some years. We wore it year 1, we wore it year 2, but I think year 3 we're starting to get a little bit of street cred there. So I'm pumped up, and I hope he's in the top 30. I hope he's a running back too, like he was last year. I didn't even mention that. Like he was a top 20 running back last year, top 21 running back. So he's done it before.
Yeah, I never thought I'd say nice things about Ronald Jones after his second season. And this year, we just did our cheat sheet episode over at 14P, and he's my value. He is my value in fantasy drafts this year. He's going after Fournette, and that's just craziness.
I never mentioned this to you guys either. This is completely off topic, but I was going to say this in the intro, but you guys ever had that word that you can't spell? It's a really common word that you should be able to spell, but you always have trouble. Mine's personnel, and I've gotten so good at spelling personnel. When I've searched you guys' stuff, that I finally know how to spell it. I just thought about that when you said 14P. I was like, no, it's personnel. I got it. It's the 2 N's.
That's one of the biggest things we didn't think about when we came up with our name was people are going to spell that wrong and they're never going to find us.
We're actually an educational podcast. It's hooked on phonics, but with a fantasy.
Yeah, that's our sponsor.
Marco, did you have somebody for this segment?
Yeah. So I actually also, Justin, you didn't say your guy, but I have the same guy as Justin. I have AJ Dillon. So I think really when you look at AJ Dillon, I actually thought it was going to be great for the Packers to let a guy like Aaron Jones go because of what they have, not just in AJ Dillon, but the guy they drafted in Kylan Hill. I think he's a solid number 2. So they've got so much depth at their running back position. If Aaron Rodgers, or I should say when Aaron Rodgers leaves, I really would not be surprised if the Packers make a move and actually trade someone like Aaron Jones away or AJ Dillon, and one of those guys find a spot on a new team where they're going to find some opportunity. And even if they don't, say all 3 of those running backs stay there and Aaron Rodgers leaves next year, they're going to have to lean on the run more. And AJ Dillon is a powerful, weirdly fluid runner. He doesn't always look super fluid, but then when you actually watch his entire run, all or his long runs in their entirety, you're like, okay, he actually does have it's a weird hiccup in his run, but he does it consistently. So it's weirdly fluid. But he is one of those guys that's a tank. And they're saying that they're getting him the ball in the passing game in practice. So if he gets even a few targets as a main guy out of that backfield at some point, man, he could be an enormous steal that you're getting for almost nothing right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you again. That's my guy. So kudos to you for making a great pick, Marco. But what AJ Dillon this year has sneaky flex value just in redraft to begin with. And if you start to see those flashes, his ADP is slowly going to start to tick up. And, whether it's super flex or 1 QB, he's right around RB30, RB35, right in that pocket there. And again, with Aaron Jones, he's not the most durable running back. And I hate discounting running backs because of injury, because every back carries injury risk. But we've seen it continually with Aaron Jones. I think they've proven they don't want to just give him a full workload. It doesn't seem like he's built to handle that just by size and stature. So enter AJ Dillon, who, again, if he gets red zone work and the work between the 20s and basically non-passing situations, you have, and I hate that I'm even saying it, a very, very light version of Derrick Henry. I need to stress the very light part, but that is the physicality that which he runs with. Again, he's never going to have that workload, so he'll never be Derrick Henry. But that is the type of potential God forbid he found 300 carries in a season somehow.
Does anyone remember how many carries he had in that? Was it the playoff game or week 17 or something
against the Titans?
Yeah,
where
he had good work, right? Like he had 23, 25 carries.
That was Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams both went down. So that's what you're looking at. But again, you need everything to break right for that specific situation. But I think he does more than what Jamal Williams did last season. And I am extremely, extremely interested in that in a Rodgers-led offense, at least this year.
Yeah, so I just looked it up. He had 21 carries, averaged 6 yards a carry, 124 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like if he's getting even 12 touches in a game, that's value. Like right now value.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you brought up trading or moving on from Aaron Jones. That's not going to happen until 2023 at the earliest.
With his contract?
Yeah, with his new contract. So they would save $750,000. That's it. But he'd be a $9.75 million contract or dead cap hit. And then 2023, they'd save $12.75 million.
Okay.
So,
there it is.
That would be the earliest that's going to happen.
Yeah, we got a question in here, and I want to get into this because we don't do a ton. Like I told you guys before the show, we don't do a ton of our Dino shows live, and so I want to kind of hit some of these Dynasty questions. Sean has a question about he's got a rebuilding orphan, 2 different trade proposals. So one's a 2022 first-round pick for his Deontay Johnson. How do you guys feel on that one?
Let me reread this. 2022.
So he's a rebuilding team. Oh man,
no. It's just the one first?
He would get the 2022 first. He would give up Deontay Johnson.
I need more for Deontay.
Yeah, I think I need more because you could see a big step forward for Deontay this year.
Yeah. We'll get to Deontay in a little bit.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
And then his second one was his 2022 third and fourth. So he's getting those. And then he's giving up Mecole Hardman.
I mean, I'll jump in quickly. Any draft pick that's a third or fourth, I struggle to care about in almost any capacity, even if it's this season, so for me, I'd rather hold on to Mecole Hardman just with the outside chance that he does something this year. I don't even think it's super far outside that he's semi-relevant. So it's like, if Mecole Hardman does anything, he's already more valuable, more than likely, than any third or fourth round pick. Or both, So I would hold Hardman there. Yeah,
Hardman's been a guy that I've kind of been about, honestly, in these later rounds. I remember we did a live mock, and I got him way in like the 14th round. And obviously you can't get him anywhere near that now as he's kind of to show as the wide receiver 2 now. But you're right. It's not a stretch that he would actually do something this year. No Sammy Watkins. He kind of takes that role. So I think that's much better than a third and a fourth round that you can't act upon for a whole nother year, right? And they don't have a ton of trade value. It's not like a first that'll gain more. It's a third and a fourth. So I would keep your players in both situations there, Sean.
Right. Really, the only time. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. The only way that's worth anything is if Devies are included in that draft.
Yep.
Kosh is agreeing with us there. So let's switch it over, and we're going to go a little bit more of what we call a dynasty bust, I guess. It's someone who's in the top 12 of running backs that we think is going to fall outside of that and drop quite a bit. So this would be not a person that's going to be bad this year, but might be on that way out of the top 12 running backs. Marco, let's go right back to you and have you kick us off.
Yeah, so for me, I'm going to say a guy that might make people a little bit angry, but I'm going to say Zeke. I think I don't even think it's like he's going to take a huge step back this season. I think he's going to be fine this season. I've got him in my top 10, top 12 running backs this year. But I think people are already trying to be out on Zeke. So another year later, I think he's going to be the guy who people are like, the biggest fade is going to be Zeke, because they're trying to do it this year. And I think it worked for a minute and now it's not anymore. Next year might be the big year where people start to fade Zeke. I'm not sure if it's going to be a year too early, but he's my pick that'll fall out of most people's top 12 there.
Yeah, he's the second oldest running back in the top 12 there.
Yep.
And I actually have the oldest running back in the top 12 in Derrick Henry.
Yep.
There we go. I was deciding between those two.
Yeah, he's RB6 or RB7. And mainly it's because of the workload, the age, turns 28 in January. Outside of that, we're talking he's just a monster, but he's averaged 413 carries the last 2 years. Now that's including playoffs. I'm sorry, 413 touches. But just, I mean,
That's unreal.
People have been predicting his demise since like last offseason as well. So they might be wrong as far as his production, but I think this is probably the year where he's going to fall.
Even if he doesn't like fall off a cliff this season, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like the proverbial fantasy cliff. Even if he's a top 5 running back, he's going to be 28 years old. He's slipping an ADP. It doesn't matter. Like that's my guy as well for that reason. I don't care what he does this season. He's going to fall, I mean, a good way down, I feel like, especially with some of these, rookie and second year backs coming up the ranks here.
Yeah, and I think you can make, the same argument with Zeke, like I said. So
Yep.
That's why I just jumped in and didn't let Robby defend Zeke's honor. But you can do that now, sir.
Yeah. I think there's been a lot of talk about the decline of Zeke, and I'm not quite on that same page. I think a lot of things went wrong for the Cowboys in general.
Yeah.
I think we saw the Zeke that was through weeks 1 through 5 where we wouldn't have said that, most likely if Dak remains there, if they have, and they actually didn't even have their full offensive line strength even through those first 5 weeks. So he's doing that with backup left tackle, backup right tackle. Their center got hurt. Zach Martin got hurt later, but I think that decline is a couple years away where I'm still good with hanging on with Zeke, but he's probably the number 2 pick here behind Henry because as a person, when you look at who's going to wear down the quickest, it's probably those guys with high volume of carries and maybe not the most pass working or pass catching work where Zeke can do it, but I don't know if he does it as much as some of these other guys. Like Kamara is really close in age to him, and so is Dalvin Cook. People kind of forget that they're really close in age, but those guys both have I think a higher ceiling in the pass catching. So my guy's Henry as well. I mean, insane volume for so many the last 2 years for sure, and then he's stayed healthy for sure. But can you imagine, guys, if he got hurt, how his stock would tank? And then do the Titans pass more now with Julio in town, Arthur Smith out? His ADP is strictly built on volume. So if any of those risks hit that volume, he's tanking for sure.
I mean, he can only buck that trend of sustaining his production after a 300-yard carry season for so long. Like he's done it 2 years in a row, 3 years maybe, but there's no way he can do it. I mean, it seems very improbable that he could do it for 4 seasons,
Right. And I'm looking at this comment here, and I'm thinking about CMC, and I don't think it's quite the same. I get it. If he got hurt 2 years in a row, people would start to have like questions there. But man, he is literally like a far and away running back 1 right now. Like people might want to put some other people close to him, but I have him, a tier ahead of some of these other guys. So
yeah,
something would have to go super wrong where it's like the Achilles, right, where you're worried, can he come back from that at all, or something like that. So I think CMC is safe, even if everything were to go completely wrong again this year.
The Achilles is the only injury for me that would even put him outside my top 5, top 10. His role in the offense, what he does, like that play style is just, it provides longevity. He's going to be very good for a very long time. I'm not worried about him for at least another 2-3 years, maybe. 3 might be pushing it, but at least 2.
He missed most of the year last year, and he's still the number 1 overall player.
Right. It just doesn't matter.
That's
30 points per game. Literally the first 3 weeks, 30 points per game. Like
I've never had the 101 in a redraft league until this year, and just it sucks so much. It was awful.
Yep, I did last year too. It was great.
Brutal, man.
Mm-hmm. And the number 2 was Saquon, so you were screwed no matter what.
Exactly. Didn't matter if you got cute or not. You were screwed no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Gents, let's move it over to wide receivers here. We've got, I think, again, we're talking about what guys can jump up into the top 12, who can make that leap into stardom, kind of the breakout, right? And so what's a middling, wide receiver 2, or even dipping down if you guys want to get crazy here and go wide receiver 3 that you can see being a top 12 wide receiver this next year? Justin, we'll go to you first.
So for me, I was between 3 or 4 sophomore wide receivers. There's Ayuk, Claypool, Higgins, and then Jeudy. Jeudy is my pick, though. I'm going with Jerry Jeudy. And the main reason is, again, his rookie year was not ideal. It just wasn't. There's no way to spin it. A lot of that has to do with Drew Lock. And the narrative is basically if Drew Lock busts this year, you no longer have to worry about Drew Lock as Jerry Jeudy's quarterback. He will be gone. And I still think Teddy Bridgewater wins this job this year. And we saw what DJ Moore did with Teddy Bridgewater. Was it pretty all the time? Absolutely not. But he was a yardage machine. He should have been a PPR machine, but Bridgewater was doing Teddy things. I think Jeudy fits better with Bridgewater than he does with Locke. And again, if I'm projecting Bridgewater to be that guy this year, I think you see a very good wide receiver 2 season from Jerry Jeudy. And given the age, a potential new quarterback coming into the fold, I just see his ADP rising still. I'm just all in on Jerry Jeudy. I'm scooping him up wherever I can. Just because, again, I think heading into year 3, post 2021, he's going to be primed for a huge season.
Yeah. And don't judge Jeudy based on his quarterback play. No. So it's you're killing me because I picked Jerry Jeudy too, and
nice.
I said possibly Devonta Smith, maybe Deontay Johnson, and I decided to go with Jerry Jeudy because I've talked so much about Devonta and Deontay, and then you just Jerry Jeudy. So then you basically say everything I was going to say. So that's just great.
There's something about Jerry Jeudy. Last season, what was it? His on target percentage was 75th or 77th in the NFL,
which is bad, probably.
Yeah, by the way, just a heads up.
And you watched him, and he's open all the time. His route running, especially coming out of college, and then last year he was open. He was open a lot.
Right. And the thing is, it goes 2 ways. Either Drew Lock is the guy and takes a huge step forward, and great, you love it for Jerry Jeudy. Or Drew Lock's gone, and great, you love it for Jerry Jeudy. His quarterback situation is going to work itself out.
The thing that I think people need to look at, when you're looking at the fantasy wide receiver landscape, one of the things, as we push further and further into the pass-heavy NFL that we are in, we've talked about it on our show before. There's probably 50 wide receivers that I actually really like. I'm not saying they're all going to be wide receiver ones, but they're all really, really talented players. And so what you need to start doing is these guys are all going to be really close in talent at a certain point. Look at the guys who have really special things about their game. And Jerry Jeudy as a route runner, that's something that will separate him. And no, you know what? Even if Drew Lock doesn't take a huge step and he takes a baby step forward, Jerry Jeudy's route running is something that will separate him from the rest of the pack. And that's why, I like that pick. I think he's going to be a stud in the NFL.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually have David Berger that's doing this training camp series where he's talking with beat writers from each team. And he talked to the Zach Stevens, one of the Broncos beat writers, and he raved about Jeudy. He thinks he's just going to have a really, really big season. And I think that's a really good guy that you can take advantage of because of all the guys that you named, Justin, for those sophomore wide receivers, I'm going to guess his ADP is the lowest. I'm not sure if you said it or not, but I'm going to guess he's the lowest.
He's wide receiver 23. Claypool is 22. Higgins is wide receiver 20, and then Ayuk wide receiver 16.
Yeah. I probably should have prefaced this at the beginning. The wide receivers that we can't pick from, I saw Terry McLaurin was suggested in the chat, but DJ Moore was at 12, Terry McLaurin, Jamar Chase, DeAndre Hopkins, Ridley, Diggs, Adams, Lamb, Metcalf, AJ Brown, Hill, and Justin Jefferson way up there. This is DLF's August ADP for a startup. So McLaurin would be fantastic. I would love that pick, but he's already there. He is already broken out.
That's my boy from last year, Robbie.
Yes, sir. I remember.
Did I change your mind on him?
You did. That was one.
I did.
In case you were wondering.
Marco, did you have a guy or were you also Jeudy?
No, so I have a guy, but man, I don't want to. I have 2 guys that I really can't decide between.
Talk about them both.
Okay, I'll talk about them both briefly. So here's what I'll say. Justin mentioned both of these guys, and I actually like them for different reasons. So I'm going to talk about T. Higgins and Chase Claypool. They both bring really interesting things to their game, and they're in really interesting situations. So Claypool, just quickly on Claypool, because I think T. Higgins is the guy who I'd probably lean if I chose one of these. Claypool is someone who he obviously scored 11 touchdowns last year, which was crazy. But he saw 100 targets on a team that has, Juju and Deontay, who see crazy targets themselves. He was the bottom man on the totem pole in targets there. But what I really see with the Steelers right now is that Deontay's shaping up to fill out like a Tyler Lockett role, and Chase Claypool's really filling a DK light role on that team. I don't think he's as prolific as a route runner and separator, because DK actually learned how to do that really well. And I think Claypool's going to struggle to do that quite as well as DK, but as a playmaker and just the physicality that he brings to the game, he is something that the Steelers need on that team. They've got the route runner in Deontay. They've got a great slot receiver in Juju. They've got the running back now in Najee. Questions at quarterback, but the big playmaker, the physical force on this team, I think, is Chase Claypool. So I like his upside and I like his athleticism. And then I think really T. Higgins is like a slightly smaller version of Mike Evans. I think we're going to see that going forward from T. Higgins. Obviously, Jamar Chase has got chemistry already with Joe Burrow. He's one of the exciting prospects coming out this season. I think Jamar Chase will be a great player. But to me, T. Higgins has taken a hit in his ADP. He's taken a hit in his value in trades and things like that. Capitalize on T. Higgins, because just because Jamar Chase is there, T. Higgins won't be going anywhere.
Did you say that Deontay Johnson is like Tyler Lockett?
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of Tyler Lockett. Just he's not as big of a player, but he plays pretty aggressive. He's a really prolific route runner, which I think Tyler Lockett is really good at. So I think those are the similarities that I look to in these guys. And I think he plays a similar role on that offense, because Tyler Lockett, I mean, it was only by like 5 targets or 6 targets, but he out-targeted DK last year. And I think that's going to be the same case between Deontay and Claypool. He'll get out-targeted for sure.
Yeah, early on, Tyler Lockett was really volatile as far as his targets, and I think Deontay's starting off where, I believe he had 143 targets last year. You've heard, if you're a fan of the pod, you've heard me talk lovingly about Deontay Johnson. I believe he's that wide receiver 1 there. Yeah, I think Claypool is going to be good, but I actually had him as a sell. Because I think his value, you're going to be able to get a good return, and Deontay is that number 1. So yeah, it's okay, Roberto. I may not have sold you on that, but it'll happen.
No, but I think that's a good point to talk about, because I agree in the sense of I think Deontay is going to out-target him by 20, 30 targets a season. I think that's totally fair. But what I see for Claypool isn't that he doesn't need the targets necessarily. But I get what you're saying there with Deontay. I think he will be the number 1 target.
Yeah, and one more thing with Claypool is he had 3 or 4 touchdowns that were within 5 yards, I believe, and I think he's going to lose some of that to Najee coming in.
Yeah, that's a good call.
I don't know about the touchdowns, and then I believe he had 7 touchdowns in 2 games. I think he had 4 against the Eagles and 3 in another one.
That's sustainable.
Yeah,
totally. We'll do that.
Yeah. Do they play the Eagles again? Do they play the Eagles again?
Yeah, I don't think so. But yeah, that's all just off the top of my head from something we did earlier. So if I'm wrong on that, then sorry. Not sorry.
No, and I think it's a good point too, because obviously of those 2 receivers, Claypool's definitely the risk. Like he's not going to have that volume, so he's inherently the risk.
Right.
Yeah, those were the 2 guys I was really trying to decide between. Marco was Claypool and Higgins.
You and me, man, same page.
I went with Higgins, kind of from what we talked about, but I think Higgins is kind of overlooked all the way going back to kind of the pre-draft process, right? Like he was going in the second round. I picked him up in a lot of second rounds because he doesn't run at the combine. People are kind of questioning that speed. I just feel like a lot of these other wide receivers kind of jumped him. And then he just balls out with Burrow and even past Burrow. I think that's something we forget is that Burrow missed, 6 or 7 games. And so T. Higgins is playing with backup quarterback, just kind of the same as what CeeDee Lamb was able to do, except CeeDee Lamb, we've seen the bump. We haven't quite seen that with T. Higgins. So I'm a big T. Higgins guy. I think he's been underrated since the pre-draft process. Yep. I think Jamar Chase is obviously a very, very good prospect. I think he'll be fantastic. The connection with Burrow should be there, right? But A lot of people who are saying, Chase needs to be above Higgins. I don't know, man. It seems that way, but I think we look a year later sometimes and we're like, yeah, it probably should have been that way, but not everything goes exactly right. It's not always exactly how we have it planned out. And I think Higgins is such a talent and an alpha type wide receiver where he can get he'll have the volume, but then he'll have the efficiency and just with his size, man, and his go up and get it ability, man. I think he has double-digit touchdown potential in this season.
Yeah,
so
100%.
I'm big on T. Higgins.
You sold me on T. Higgins last year. I was wrong about him, but I had one guy above him, which the debate was, and it was Justin Jefferson. So I win.
Yeah.
I think legitimately though, Chase and Higgins are both, at least as my rankings sit today for redraft, they're both top 24 wide receivers as far as I'm concerned this season. And if they both deliver on that, I mean, ADP is going to go through the roof as far as Dynasty is concerned.
And that offense is going to be really fun moving forward.
Oh, God, yeah.
So fun.
Yeah.
Especially with no defense, right? Like, they're just going to get to swing it.
It's the Dallas Cowboys model.
Yeah, exactly.
And people don't want to admit it, but Tyler Boyd, if they are in a pinch to get or to need cap space, Tyler Boyd, his dead cap hit the next 2 seasons is $2 million or less, I think. Like, he is very much a cut candidate. And I mean, I don't see it happening, but if it were to happen in a place they can look to save money, I mean, that's a lot of targets that open up for Chase, Higgins, and whoever else steps into that third wide receiver role.
You guys, Zach asked this question a while ago. I wanted to get to it. He's got his roster here, and he's kind of just asking, what any advice for him? Should he flip anybody? Should he make any moves to try and grab anybody? And just going off the cuff, I think his quarterbacks is kind of where I have some question. Obviously, we love Trevor Lawrence. I think that's a fantastic guy. Watson, sure, in Dynasty, you don't know what he might give you this year. It might be nothing. And then you do have I'm going to guess that's Daniel Jones and then Winston. So I think he's okay. I don't know if he has can win it this year quarterbacks, but I do like maybe longer term. And then I do see a couple of older wide receivers. Diggs is not old yet, but he's getting up there. What's 27, 28. And then Julio and AB are the other 2 older ones. Any advice for him? I would just say off the top is that maybe some of these lower guys, he says he has a 30 man roster, start rostering just some dart throws, right? Because I think I see it's like Travis Fulgham is on that roster. I don't know if I'd have him over maybe some other guys. We are going to do a sleeper episode at some point, so I definitely recommend Zach you check that out. But yeah, any sleepers or any advice you guys have for Zach here?
2 guys that jump off the page to me that I am actively looking to flip on teams where I don't know if I'm necessarily, fully contending, would be Antonio Brown and Corey Davis. Those are 2 guys that I am comfortable moving. AB right now has all the hype in the world as far this close to the season. And I think rightfully so. I think he's going to be very good this year. But I mean, if you can go out and get, and this may be pushing it even, if you can get a mid-second round pick for AB, something like that, to at least get a little bit younger there, or go and take a shot on some younger wide receivers that haven't necessarily proven it yet, I'm comfortable doing that. And then Corey Davis is a guy that I have not been in on since day one. And I'm going to continue to just hammer that home. I think Elijah Moore, if it's not this season, next year is the true one, or ends up being the lead fantasy wide receiver in New York. So I'm looking to get off of Corey Davis in pretty much every dynasty league that I've had him.
Yeah, I would agree with Corey Davis, especially after the first preseason. People are saying Corey Davis saw this many targets from Zach Wilson. And it's like, well, yeah, there's nobody else for him to throw the ball to. So, capitalize on that. If there's someone in your league who's like, yeah, Corey Davis is going to be the one there, because he might be the one for a second, and then Elijah Moore is going to get healthy, and then he's going to be in a lot of trouble because Elijah Moore is a phenomenal football player. So go ahead and trade Corey Davis if you can, package him away. Marquez Callaway on Dynasty roster is a great stash. I have a really deep stash if you've got super deep rosters. His name is, I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. It's Mike Strachan or Straken.
The Colts.
Strachan, yeah.
Strachan from the Colts, man. I went back and looked at some of his college tape after the preseason game because I have a buddy who's a big Colts fan. He's like, you got to watch this guy. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then he balled out a little bit in the preseason. So I went back and watched his tape. There is so many question marks with the Colts wide receivers. I would not be surprised. I mean, they made Zach Pascal semi-relevant last year.
Yep.
I can tell you that I think Mike Straken or whatever, however you pronounce the guy's last name, and we'll have to get that right, I think, soon, because I think he will be relevant. I think he could be relevant. And if you've got super deep rosters, throw him on your bench and just let him sit there for a minute, because he could be a wide receiver 2 for that team, so that who knows what he does.
Yeah, and going back to Corey Davis real quick, he's a guy I think you flip after a couple weeks in the season, because I think he is going to see targets early. So I think his value will go up the first couple weeks. So, and again, it's August 17th. You don't need your starting lineup for a little bit longer. And if you lose the first couple weeks, it's okay.
Yeah, you got time.
Yeah.
Get her done. Get her done.
Tom, do you have any thoughts on Quez Watkins? I know he's been getting a lot of hype like Strachan has been, but he's, obviously with the Eagles. Any love there?
So he is basically what we thought that Jalen Raeger might be. I so far in camp, although Jalen Raeger's been coming on a little bit more, but Quez Watkins is getting open every practice, and he's making plays. And the Eagles secondary has improved a bit with Nelson coming in there, and they get to shift Avonte Maddox. So I think he's going to wind up carving out a role. I'm not sure exactly what that's going to be. I think the smart thing would be to have him on the outside, Raeger in the slot, and then you can have Devonta move all over the place. That leaves Fulgham as the odd man out, or the guy that's going to wind up rotating in. They're also going to play a lot of 12 personnel. So, well, assuming Ertz doesn't get traded. No, I think he is going to get traded, but I think he's a nice stash. So, and they're going to have to throw the ball because they're going to be losing this year.
Yeah, I feel like Eagles fans are like just totally off this year, and I don't know if it's just because I'm outside and I don't follow the Eagles like you do, but like if Jalen Hurts plays well, I feel like they have a decent defense. I feel like they have good weapons with Sanders, Devon. I'm still a Raeger guy. Like I feel like they could be okay, but every Eagles fan I talk to, they're just like, nah, we're gonna have a top 3 pick. We're done.
We hope so. So here's the thing, and I've talked to you about it before. I want them to not win a single game because I want Howie Roseman to be fired. And I think that's the entire
Howie hate.
That's smart.
You want him to go because he screws up draft after draft after draft and brings in free agents that don't make any sense, and he's still living off that Super Bowl, and he's just screwing everything up. Like, just leave me alone. You're ruining everything.
Howie still has a job is shocking to me.
Howie still has a job.
I love it.
Tough. That's tough.
Let's talk about good things.
I appreciate that, Marco. I appreciate that a lot.
I'm doing what I can.
Hey, Tom, you mentioned this guy, and our next topic is wide receivers outside the top 40 that we can see coming, into their own and maybe being a middle wide receiver 2, or at least having flex appeal. And you said the guy, and I think that's Jalen Raeger. And you're part of the problem, Tom, where guys like you are not patient in Dynasty, and you guys throw these guys to the wolves after 1 year, after they get injured in training camp, they tear the UCL in their thumb, they have no off season to work with due to COVID. They're playing with horrendous offensive line play, horrendous Carson Wentz play, and I think everyone's kind of done with Jalen Raeger, and I'm kind of like, I feel like he's good. I saw him make a fantastic one-handed catch, which probably means nothing in the grand scheme of things. But man, that catch was baller.
It's because he's got a thumb now.
Yes. So he had, he's had 2 one-handed catches the last week. So he's coming on a little bit, but again,
he's super fast. He's super talented. He was worthy. I thought of that first round pick. Obviously, they want to go back. They should do Justin Jefferson. We all get that. You'll never let that go. But I still think he can be really good. Like, I don't know. Like,
so
I'll say this.
He did not play fast last year. That was his big problem.
He
is fast in a straight line, and his best play was a punt return, and that was it.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Yes.
Because they had no other wide receivers last year. Thumb or not. He's catching balls one-handed, so you don't need the other hand.
So what I'll say about Jalen Raeger is kind of the opposite of what I said about Jerry Jeudy. Of Jalen Raeger is really, or at least last year, was horrible as a route runner. Like really, really dangerously bad as a route runner. And so like,
yes,
I mean, I will admit I'm a little biased in the sense of last offseason, I was like pounding the table, avoid this guy. But because, you know, on the field, he looks all right in college, but at the same time, like he wasn't doing anything that was like special, and he should be owning the competition he was playing. And he did to a degree, but still in the NFL, he showed that his route running was really poor. And something that people are forgetting for these one-handed catches, okay, it's preseason practice, but also, do you notice it's not like he couldn't use both hands. His other hand is down here, just like hanging out. That's probably why he's not catching footballs. Use both your hands, man. You don't need to do one hand.
No, he's super raw, and that's part of his problem. And he took a step back his last season in college. He had a better season the year before, so that's another warning sign for me. So, Robby, eat shit on your Jalen Raeger take. I'm sorry. Everybody hates you, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, Walito is just gonna pay for Kev's college fund, his kid's college fund, with all of his Marquez Callaway love. He's definitely a name that's popping. I mean, absolutely has been taking advantage of his situation. Traquan Smith came back to practice, but he's obviously the more dynamic, I'd say, of those two. And I don't know who's going to be starting at quarterback, but man, if it's either one of those guys, I think they can definitely make Callaway a weapon for sure. So not a bad pick. Justin, who do you got?
So speaking of guys that have just been left for dead, it's Henry Ruggs. Henry Ruggs came into last season. I don't think he should have been taken as there we go. I don't think he should have been taken as high as he was in the NFL draft. I think that did kind of set him up for disappointment.
Also the Raiders.
Yeah, the Raiders in general, and Gruden, the whole thing.
He got run over by like a trailer as well.
The whole he got hit. He got hit with a
head.
He
was helping somebody move, and
just some things you don't want to happen as an NFL player.
He was helping Jalen Raeger move, and Jalen Raeger ripped a thumb, and Ruggs.
But he went into the season hurt. It didn't seem like he was ever really right that entire year, especially in an off season where they didn't really have a full training camp, a full, time to get ready. And then you add in, he wasn't healthy for the little bit of time they did have to really practice. Things were just off for him week one. And I understand how bad his rookie year looked. It was atrocious in every single way. He was used as a decoy. He was nothing but a vertical threat. And yes, he has blazing speed, but he is much more dynamic than that. And everything out of camp as of right now, and again, take everything Gruden says with a grain of salt, but everything out of camp is he's being utilized around the formation. He's not only running 9 routes. If he actually is utilized in a way that's effective and not just deep shots, he has a good chance to be the wide receiver 1 on this team, even with Bryan Edwards there. He's already running ahead of John Brown. I just think we gave up way too early on Ruggs, and if he shows any kind of flashes, and I mean, if he has 800 yards, he's a guy that people will start buying back in on, because again, who knows if Derek Carr's even there next season, if they change quarterbacks or if Mariota comes in. I just think Ruggs can really produce if given, a proper offseason and, actually staying healthy during the NFL year. I think that'll go a long way with him.
I love that discussion because we basically just flipped Jalen Raeger's name with Henry Ruggs' name, honestly. Like we have
but said positive things, yeah.
Weird.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Have you seen him dunk a basketball? That video from last offseason was
yes.
I pumped him up like 10 spots. I was like, it's over. This dude can dunk. He jumps out of the freaking gym. Literally, I love Henry Ruggs, dude. I can't quit him.
Tom, who you got?
I had 3 guys I wanted to talk about, but I'm only going to talk about one. I had Hollywood. He's at 49. Terrence Marshall. He's at 59 right now. That's,
love that.
Christian Welch. Christian Welch
and,
comment incoming.
Yep. And I'm going to wind up talking about Rondale here. I've talked about Hollywood enough, so I'm good there. He went to the perfect offense. Kingsbury is going to use him the way he should be used, I think. Hopkins takes a lot of pressure off of him, so he doesn't have to be the wide receiver 1. we saw Curtis Samuel finish as the wide receiver 24 last year. He had carries. He was utilized in kind of that Swiss Army knife role. And by the way, he had a former college coach in Matt Rule. So weird how those college coaches know how to use those guys who can do it all. So I think Rondale is going to shoot up this offseason. I really like him, or next offseason. I really like him. And I think he'll be going definitely in the top 30 next year.
Do you guys think there's a chance if the Cardinals struggle where Cliff Kingsbury is out?
No.
Like, I feel like that's not talked about, but I feel like the Cardinals should have more success than they have. Like, I think they went 5-10-1. I think they had a tie 2 years ago, and then I think they were 7-9 or 8-8 last year. I don't know, man. I just feel like everyone's like, oh, his offense, he's so ingenious. He knows how to use players, and yeah, that's sure. But also, you got to get results, and I'm curious if they take that next step or if they just remain where they are, take a step back if he's gone.
I think it's all about Kyler, and Kyler's not going to want him gone.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you there. I think as much as people are just fans of the Cardinals or fans of the NFL would probably assume that he would be on the hot seat if they don't have or if they don't have a good season this season. I feel like that organization is like, hey, we're going to bring in all the weapons we can, and we're comfortable with whatever this guy's going to do. Sure. You know, like, I think they understand they've got a young quarterback in Kyler, and, you know, he's been in the league now a couple of years, but at the same time, he's still a young guy. And so I think they're like, hey, let's let this guy figure it out. And until he proves that he absolutely cannot do anything, I don't think they're going to knock him out. And part of it is they're probably giving him credit to the fact that they're in an insanely difficult division to play in.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. If it would have to be a very, very bad season for him to get canned, but I think it's on the table. Like, if they have 5 wins this year, I don't see that happening. But if, let's say, they have 5 wins, I think he'll be out of there, because that just represents a huge step backwards from what they were doing last year. That's the thing. Like, they're trending in the right direction, but if they take a step back, I think he could be on the way out potentially.
Could we make an argument they're the worst team in their division? Like, I feel like it sounds crazy to say that.
No, they are.
You think of the Rams, the Seahawks, and the 49ers. With 49ers lost everybody last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, give them back their healthy studs. They might be the worst team in their division.
I'm comfortable saying they are.
I think they're fairly separated.
I think the Seahawks might be really disappointing this year.
Sure.
The Seahawks might be in a Cowboys situation where they don't have defense, but their offense is super fun to watch. So people are like, no, they're good.
Yeah.
I feel like Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson just know how to win. So I'm just never going to bank on them being bad, where Kingsbury, I don't know if he knows how to win yet. Like, I don't feel like he hasn't proven that.
But he looks like Ryan Gosling, so.
So he's got the GQ bump.
Yeah, it's fine. Pete Carroll's, going to happy hours, or what do they call them? Early bird dinners or whatever.
Right. Going to happy hours, yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine. Chewing his gum.
Loaded.
Only chewing gum.
Oh, man. Tom.
Oh, man. Chris Collinsworth coming in.
We have this running bit where he just breaks into Chris Collinsworth getting excited about nothing on Sunday Night Football. I love it. I can't get enough of it. All right, let's keep this train moving. Top 15 wide receiver that has the most risk to kind of fall off a cliff and be outside, top 25-ish next season. Guys, this one was the hardest one for me.
So hard.
It is very, very hard. You have to pick, like, I think I was telling you guys in the chat, like, I literally like everybody from like 1 to 25-ish, except for like maybe 3 guys.
That's why they're there.
Right?
Earlier I said literally there's 50 guys that I actually like.
I can root for any of them.
This one was easy.
Yeah.
Okay, Tom, you go first.
Michael Thomas.
Well, I don't think he's in there for August ADP. You might have been looking at.
He's at wide receiver 24 on startup, which is what I was looking at. But
yeah, he dropped out. You might have had July ADP, but for August, people are done.
No, Superflex August 2021. He was going
24 as well. I'm seeing both. Yeah, he's 23, 24.
What the hell?
Yeah, see,
Not so easy now.
Easy.
What the hell happened? I think they must have updated it today. It's not so easy now. All right, come back to me. Michael Thomas sucks.
Yeah, like if Thomas was there, could have closed my eyes and made the argument.
Right.
All right, I don't want to go first. Marco, you got to go.
All right, I'll do it. And man, I don't even feel good about it, but I'm doing it. Okay, so I'm going to say Chris Godwin. Oh, gosh. And that feels gross because he's one of the guys who, I mean, I've been talking about it all this episode. Route running is so important. He's a really good route runner. And he's had that one season where he was phenomenal. He was wide receiver 2. But what we've seen from him is that he's got flashes, he's got ups, he's got downs, he's dealt with some injuries. And, next season is a mystery. We don't know what's going to happen with him next season. So I think there's a lot of questions whether he stays or goes. And in either situation, there's questions in those situations, So like if he stays, are they going to have Tom Brady? Are they not going to have Tom Brady? If he goes, is he going to go on a team that is a competing team where he's maybe not the number one option and he's kind of in the same boat that he's in now with maybe less opportunity and a worse quarterback? Is he go to a team where they suck and he's the main target? So I think he's got a lot of questions going into his future that makes me kind of press pause and say he might fall outside. His talent is good enough to make me say he probably won't fall too far outside of that top 15. But I think all the question marks around him, and if he doesn't have a bounce back season this year, I could see him falling out of the top 15. And maybe people start having the narrative of maybe that was just his one season, Yep.
Yeah. Walito, I need you to take off the Houday glasses or the Houdat. It's Houdat glasses. He's gonna crush me for this now. And you gotta realize that I think Michael Thomas was a sell before the injury, like before we had this injury stuff. I mean, Tom, we did a dynasty sells. Michael Thomas was on mine. So even kind of going back to Michael Thomas real quick, even if there wasn't an injury, I think he was a sell for me anyways. I talked a lot about if Jameis Winston was the quarterback, that the accuracy just wasn't matching up from Drew Brees to Jameis Winston, and how Michael Thomas was such a volume guy. And obviously his depth of target was super low and whatnot. And sure, that could have gotten a little bit better with Winston. But I think Michael Thomas was a sell before this. But Justin, who did you bring to the table?
So just real quick with Chris Godwin, and this is me as a Bears homer. Allen Robinson leaves. Let's just bring in Chris Godwin. Let's just keep it rolling. Get him and Justin Fields. That's all I want to say on that. But my guy here, and this is I hate, again, none of this is enjoyable right now. This is the worst question.
I don't want to be here for who Justin's going to say. I don't.
Yeah, it's DJ Moore. And I want to preface this with, I think DJ Moore is phenomenal. I think he is a spectacular talent. But if I am talking about a guy that does carry risk, if he does not live up to expectations again this season, it'll be back-to-back years now where, again, last season he was great as far as an actual NFL player, just didn't have the fantasy numbers. If that happens again, and yes, I understand it's with Sam Darnold, he's going to start to tumble down those ranks because you can't have back-to-back seasons after having all the hype in the world where you're just failing to meet expectations. That's a recipe for just the consensus moving lower and lower on you. I don't know if he'd get outside the top 25, but there is a narrative there where he can tumble down ranks if he is, another back end wide receiver too, and doesn't show that elite upside that a lot of us have projected, myself and Marco included.
Yeah. So DJ, I think, is always going to be that fringe wide receiver 1, where he's going to be like 12 to 14-ish. So if that's disappointing to some people, he could fall a little bit, but he's going to turn into a value if,
I agree. Oh, I completely agree. I'll scoop him up 100%. Yeah. Like I'm not going to be moving him down, but just playing how fickle the dynasty community is on a week to week basis. Even if he doesn't live up to it, it's gonna a lot of people will just be done with him, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Robbie, you want to go or you want me to go?
Yeah, I just got to get mine over with. I've been trying to avoid it. Like I was hoping maybe I could you guys would skip over me. I'd skip this segment. We go to the next one.
You want me to do it for you? Because
let's just end the stream here. We're good.
I think I know who it's going to be because
who do you
it's so
think?
painful for you. Is it going to be Keenan?
No, I can't. No, that should be the one. That should be the one. I think he's the oldest in the top 15.
He's going to be 30 next year.
Yeah, him and DeAndre Hopkins. But no, mine. So this is going to be a stretch. Obviously, I think we're all kind of stretching a little bit. But we saw Kenny Goliday last year. I don't know exactly where he was ranked, but I think he was right near like top 10, top 12. Like I don't know the exact numbers, but he basically dropped.
You had him at wide receiver 1. You loved him.
No.
101 overall.
That's what I remember. Yeah.
Get out of here. I thought about it. I was like, wait, did I know? And he dropped so far, right? A lot of that was injury, but contract year, he lands in a bad spot, questions at quarterback, other guys on the offense to throw the ball to. And now we've seen just him drop all the way to – do I have to keep scrolling? Where is he? I don't even know where he's at, but he's dropped a lot. This is why we don't do
wide receiver 30. Wide receiver 30.
Oh my God. Yeah. So he's obviously seen this big drop. And okay, I don't think it'll quite happen the same way, but we're talking about a guy in a contract year. We're talking about a guy that could switch teams, maybe go to an offense with another alpha, a little bit older. That's another thing I didn't mention. We're talking about 27, 28. So these younger guys are all going to start popping up above him. Ayuk, Higgins, can Claypool jump up there, all these guys and push him down, right? Allen Robinson. It's very hot.
I knew you were going to say that when you started this.
It's very hot. Justin's gonna kill me, but
me and Marco both are.
And Marco as well. But if I have to pick a guy, there's enough just like question marks, especially with the contract. I think the contract's the big thing because I'm not going to predict injury. We already said that. You can predict injury for anybody, but what's the next biggest thing? It's your landing spot and your situation around you. And while he is so dominant, he gets 160 targets. Doesn't matter who his quarterback is, right? If he lands in a spot with another alpha-like guy and his targets maybe drop to the 120-ish, 150-ish, and now you see these 28 and all these younger guys are jumping up, he's a guy we're stretching. I can maybe work all these things in to make the case where he drops outside top 20, top 22-ish, and get him as close as I can outside top 25.
How do I leave the stream? How does that happen?
Hold on. Robbie would just kick you out like he kicked out.
Why don't you guys just kick me out with the Raeger, with the Cowboy, all this? You guys just kick me out. Yeah. Have a great time.
What made this question so hard is the top 25 part. If you had made it top 20, I think you could make a lot more cases. But a lot of these guys, I mean, I understand Robinson again. I think he's out of Chicago. Unfortunately, it feels Pace has botched that every which way. So again, it's a similar argument for Godwin, but he doesn't have age on his side. So I see where you're coming from. As much as it like hurts me, like physically hurts me, I completely agree with what you're saying.
Thank God.
So I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Robbie's guy Keenan Allen, mainly because he's injury prone. I'm kidding. He's not. He's not. Robbie.
No. I need to tell the story. Some fantasy analyst who is very well known, who I will not name, 4 years ago, after the ACL week 1, coming off of the kidney, the lacerated kidney, back-to-back seasons, tweeted that Keenan Allen is injury prone, and this is when Keenan Allen's going like in the 4th or 5th round, right? He's not high at all. Says you shouldn't take him, and I'm like, this guy had an ACL and a lacerated kidney. They're not even related. Not, you know what I mean? Like, come on.
Well, you know the correlation between ACL and kidney laceration.
Oh, yeah.
It's 1-to-1.
Lower part of the body-ish.
Right. I mean, if you were an actor in the movie Saw, then you probably tore an ACL and had a lacerated kidney.
Exactly.
Right. It's fine.
Go ahead.
Anyway,
Tom.
I'm going to go with that injury-prone guy, Keenan Allen, mostly because the age. And when you look at the wide receivers, that are right below him, Ayuk, Higgins, Judy, Claypool, Deontay, Devonta, Elijah Moore, Waddle, like all those young guys, they can take that step up and bump him down. I think Keenan Allen's still going to be good, but he's going to wind up getting like that Julio Jones treatment where he's older, so he's going to wind up falling. I think his production will outweigh his overall value in Dynasty moving forward.
I think there's already a value in Dynasty. Like he's going to have a great year. And yeah, I'm with you. He is. I just couldn't bring. I was like Robbie. I couldn't bring myself to actually mention Keenan Allen in this segment, but it makes a lot of sense.
No, it doesn't. It was a terrible pick, Tom.
All right. I went right for the heart. That's all I did.
That was mean. That was mean, Tom.
Shot through the heart.
All right, we got to finish this out. We got one more. We've been hitting a lot on running backs and wide receivers, but now pick one non-rookie quarterback. And I said non-rookie because I feel like we could have just said, rookies should rise with playing time and whatnot. So I wanted to make it a little bit more difficult. Going outside the top 10 that you think will jump into the top 10 conversation a year from now. Tom, do you want to start this one off?
Sure. My boy, Tua. So he's QB 16. Yeah. If you paid attention to anything I've been saying, you knew it was going to be Tua. He's a guy that I love. I'll give you the cliff notes for him. He's another year removed from that hip surgery, second year in the system, new shiny toys he's got there to stretch the field. He's more of a normal offseason, and I think he can be a league winner. I am just really confused how Jalen Hurts is going in front of Tua. I don't understand it. I think Tua is going to see a spike. That offense, I think, is going to be really good, and they're going to throw the ball. So, especially with his deep threats. So you're going to see some big weeks from him. So if you play in any leagues with bonuses for long passes, I think Tua is going to be gold. So when you can get him as your QB2, and he's definitely got QB1 upside, I'm going there. I actually had a free bet on DraftKings, and I picked Tua to be the MVP at like plus 3,600 or something.
It's way down there. Yeah. I was looking for MVP odds.
That's spicy. I like that.
Yeah. So, we're going Tua.
So I'll just jump in really quick because I had Tua as well. And I don't have much to add to that. I think, the 1 year extra removed from that hip surgery, I think is a big deal because I think Tua can be a little bit more mobile than people are thinking as well. And so that's another, I don't think he's going to be Lamar Jackson, but I think he's going to be a lot more mobile than people think. And the Dolphins I really like what the Dolphins front office and coaching staff is doing. I think they're surrounding Tua with a lot of pieces that fit him perfectly. Like, what did he do in Alabama? He had Henry Ruggs and Jalen Waddle. What did they do? They put Will Fuller and Jalen Waddle. And obviously Devonta Parker is still there. So I think that they're going to be right in the conversation to be a surprise team this season. And I agree. I mean, when you look at I agree with what you're saying, Tom, with Tua and Hurts. I could argue that Tua's got a lot more pieces for not just fantasy, but in the NFL that I'm excited about than what Jalen Hurts has. Sure, he's got Goddard and he's got Miles Sanders, but I mean,
it's not even an argument,
right?
Yeah, it's not.
Jalen Raeger.
Oh, don't even. No, Raeger. No, we all just like vomit on stream. No, but
I think I'm gonna throw up.
But I agree completely. I think Tua is going to take a big step. And if you've got him in dynasty leagues, which I do in a lot of leagues, you're going to be really happy with the value you got him for.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm with you. I got nothing else.
I'm going to throw on one other thing with that is you were talking about how he can get better as a runner. And while we don't think he's going to be, the run first that we see with some of these quarterbacks, but honestly, I think he has Dak rushing upside where maybe Dak only has 250, 300 yards, but he has 5 rushing touchdowns or 6 rushing touchdowns because I kind of view them similar in that rushing vein. So
and he's really accurate as a passer. He really is.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Justin, who you got?
If he can get that deep ball accuracy up a little bit, then it's to the moon.
I'll be honest, like a non-rookie, this was extremely difficult because a lot of the young quarterbacks, Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, I am very much out on. So I'm going to go way down the list here. I'm going Jameis Winston. Here's the thing. I am a huge fan of Jameis and just what he provides to an offense, especially as far as fantasy goes. And
to a defense, what he provides to the offense.
Yeah, he makes everybody top 10. Doesn't matter cornerbacks, wide receivers. He does it for everybody. But if he wins this job, and I think he should, if he does, that's another question. I think eventually he wins this job, though. He's going to be phenomenal for fantasy. And that's what people are going to see. And here's the thing. If the Saints don't commit to Jameis, he's on a 1-year deal. I think he's signing somewhere after this year, again, to fight for a starting job. And let's say he ends up in, dare I say, I don't know, Carolina when Sam Darnold doesn't pan out. I would, with the weapons there, I think that would be gold, and he would skyrocket up in ADP. I just think whether he's in a new situation or still with the Saints, he's going to ball out as far as fantasy goes. So, again, it's down there. It is a spicier pick, but, what I would kill to see it. And honestly, his workout videos this offseason have just – it's an extra bump as far as I'm concerned. The man just has the laziest workouts, and they're incredible.
The running gauntlet.
And Jameis is out there. He's just eating them W's, like Christian said.
Did you see him dancing?
Who's gonna eat that W?
He was dancing. He was dancing yesterday at practice or today at practice. Electric. I mean, the man is built to be a QB1. I don't see how it doesn't happen.
Walito's got my guy here. I was thinking about going safe with the Tua. I just feel like that's kind of locked in. And obviously Watson has a lot of risk baked into his, the off the field stuff it's whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But I don't know if I don't think it's the end of his career in the NFL. You can say whether that's right or wrong. We're just going to keep it with fantasy. And I think if we look a year later, right, and he's maybe served a suspension or whatever he has to do, this was a top 5 guy that we had.
Sorry.
He's back. You're good. You're right in time for a little bit more controversial one. I don't know if you heard Justin's. He took Jameis Winston all the way down at like quarterback 29.
I almost took Jameis. I did. I like Jameis. That's all I'll say is I like him. I think he could come back in a good way.
Yeah. And mine is Deshaun Watson, because I think he's fallen to a point. Like I was just saying that I don't know what happens off the field, and I don't want to comment on that. But let's say he's back next year. He serves a suspension this year, whatever might happen. This is a guy that was a top 5 quarterback, right? 3-4 months ago or whenever before this all broke out. And so I think if he, goes to the Eagles or something like that, and he's playing again, he's only 25, so he's only like 2 years older than Tua that we're talking about, and he's already shown that he's a top 5 guy, right? Like there's still some projection. I love Tua, but there's still projection with that, where we've seen it from Deshaun Watson. So I feel like if you're a rebuilding team where you don't need that now, or you can make that move and get Watson on your team, there's obviously risk baked in because we don't know how that all pans out, but it could lead into a top 5 quarterback again, not just top 10, maybe even top 5, right? So that's my guy.
Yeah, I like it because he could end up not just on Philly, but he could end up on Denver. Mm-hmm. Whatever quarterback goes to Denver.
Oh, Jerry Jeudy and Deshaun Watson. Oh, Jesus.
Yes, any quarterback that goes to Denver. Oh my gosh! If they're even a little bit talented, they're gonna skyrocket up draft boards. As
man, if a quarterback goes to Denver, it's gonna be great. I just
Jameis.
love Jerry Jeudy.
We're all on the same page.
Hamlin, Tim Patrick. Oh my God, Javante Williams. Slide out.
We're all on the same page. Jameis to Denver. That's what we're all saying. That's what everybody's getting at.
Judy would be great.
He's not even listening. You can't control him. When he goes Collinsworth, there's nothing else that matters.
There's no thoughts.
No, man. Just Deshaun Watson is scumbag. Good quarterback, though.
Man.
Love him.
I like that. I think there's a lot of guys that we can take advantage of with them rising up the boards and making that move before they do, or on the flip side, kind of selling off, the Derrick Henry or some of these other guys before they drop off. So, guys, I enjoyed this. I don't know if, Tom, you have any parting words for our guests before we sign off?
No, I had a horrible time. You're never invited back. No, I had a good time. Thanks for coming on, guys. I'm glad we did the live show, Robbie.
Yes.
We had a good old time.
We did.
You don't have to edit anything, and we had a great time. So, yeah, thanks for coming on, guys.
People think we do live streams for them. It's so we don't have to edit on the back end. That's
so smart.
Yes,
that's the key.
Right.
We can learn so much.
It's saving me like 2 hours of work per episode, right? So, thank you guys for having us on. This has been so fun. We'll have to do this again soon, and we'll have to have you guys over on the 14P show.
Yeah, please do. So you can find Justin at Justin_14P, Marco's at Marco_14P. Tom, I don't know why we don't synchronize our stuff like they do. They are obviously just way better at this than we are. Tom's at Dynasty Infidel, as far away as you can get from at NFL Robbie. But maybe we'll learn here at
NFL Infidel. I
Nailed it.
Yeah. No, just you mix them together. That's the way it should go. That's smart.
I'm sorry. We're not married yet.
Not yet.
But yeah, guys, absolutely check out their stuff over at 14P. I've been doing it a lot more. I mean, they're just rolling with a lot of these 60-second kind of player profile-ish. You guys are doing your 5-minute debates when you're taking two players and giving just the quick hitters. We love that here at TFA. We're trying to do the quick, hard-hitting analysis. So we're doing a lot of similar stuff. So I've enjoyed kind of checking your guys' stuff out. You guys are on YouTube. You guys have the pod going. So make sure you guys check them out. Can you guys just plug that real quick where people can find you exactly?
Yeah, so right now, as a pod at least, you can find us basically everywhere where you search for podcasts. Just make sure 14 Personnel is PERSONNEL. NNEL.
14 Personal.
Yeah, 14 Personal. Yeah. But then you can find us on YouTube at 14 Personnel, on Twitter at 14P_pod, and on Instagram at 14 Personnel as well. So we're kind of all over the place, but feel free to check us out. And we're happy to answer DMs and questions and everything in between. So come find us, and then we're happy to jump in and help out.
Fantastic. Love it, guys. We will have to jump on your guys' pod next. I can't wait for it. That's all I got. Do I just end it now? I don't know how to end these live shows.
Just don't say peace.
Don't say peace.
Yeah, you gotta intro out.
All right. No intro out. Just done.
Done.